Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it right here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Joe Habib. And we have our special guest today, Mike Montero. He's in the building as well. And we got a great show for you guys, man. If you want to call in, 323-870-3857. Let's break it down, guys. DAZN, the main event last night. I tell you what, and I love DAZN, and Turki Al-Sheikh has got to be the greatest promoter of all time, especially recognizing last night's main event. Let's break it down, all right? Jared Big Baby Anderson versus Martin Bakole. In case you guys didn't realize, Jared Anderson is from Titletown. That's right, Ohio. And this is what I like. Even Saudi Arabia, even Turkey, in his excellency came here and said, you know what? That's the main event. and I, you know what? I love it. I love it. The one thing I didn't love last night was the fight, though. Martin Bakole stops Jared Anderson in the 5th round. Wow, this was bad. Jared Anderson, he looked great in the first round, I guess right around 2 minutes, 40 seconds into the first round. And then Bakole hit him, and Anderson just dropped, and I knew right then this is going to be tough. And he looked good. He was fast, but Bakole took every punch, and Anderson clipped him with some big shots. And Bakole just kind of looked at him and just kind of shrugged his shoulders and kept coming forward, man. He wasn't throwing a lot, but when he landed, and he was winning the rounds. I think I had Jared Anderson, maybe gave him 3 and 4, and then obviously 1 and 2 went to Bakole, and then the 5th round obviously happened. Anderson was floored twice in the 5th round. The ref finally stopped the fight. Man, I thought it was an awful stoppage because, in my opinion, that stoppage was way too late. I thought for sure that, he got hit with some unnecessary punches, I thought. Really, honestly, you could have stopped that fight after that second knockdown in the 5th. I thought you could have stopped it because you could tell in his eyes he was gone, But Beeb, does Jared Anderson have a future at heavyweight? He did. We know Jared Anderson's got a punch because I have it on good accord from my people who know some people who know some people. He knocked out Fury in sparring. That's what I've heard.
On the video game he did, but the thing is this. Jared Anderson's 24. He realized he made some mistakes. That uppercut that kept landing, it was almost like a blind shot. You know what I mean? It looked like Jared Anderson just was looking down when he was throwing his right, when he was in the southpaw stance, and he was throwing that left hand. He was kind of looking down, and he was going on the body a lot. So he was focusing on the midsection. So when he was throwing when he was in southpaw stance, throwing his left hand, he was looking down. When he was going to the body, he was targeting that area. So he was looking down. And I think what happened was Bakole realized that, hey, you know what? I got a blind spot here that I can expose. And he took full advantage of it. Right. So that's the risk you take when you want to commit to the body, because you're taught to sit down, not look down. So, and I think that was one of the mistakes that Jared Anderson made, where he didn't sit down and bend his knees to go to the body. He looked down, and he reached with the left hand a couple times too. And that's another way that you expose yourself to that uppercut. So, can he improve? I don't like to write somebody off after one loss. That's not what I do. If I see a pattern, then yeah. He still has a lot of natural ability, but I'm not sure if he's ever going to be that breakthrough guy. Maybe when all the other guys retire, will there be an opening for him? Possibly, right? But could he be the guy like Jalilov? I don't know. So we'll see. And now, who's the other guy there that Frank Warren has? The tall one, the tall southpaw they have, the other heavyweight they have. I forget his name. That's another guy that's going to be a problem for him, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, to Beeb's point, that uppercut kept landing, and I think that Bakole found that blind spot and just said, hey, if it ain't broke, I ain't going to fix it. I'm going to keep throwing this. And Anderson kept moving into that shot. He'd get down. He was trying to roll. It was almost like, I don't know if you guys noticed this, when he'd shoot the left, he'd roll with no punch being thrown back. So it was almost like this kind of premeditated move, right? And when you do that in boxing, that can be timed. So it's almost like he was working on the mitts or something and doing a roll. And when you shoot that left roll, shoot the left roll, he kept moving into that shot and other shots. Bakole would throw that right uppercut and then a left hook. And Anderson kept moving into him. So the good news is he can work on those things. He can fix those things in theory. He has the physical tools. I think it's going to come down to the mental and emotional toughness. It's hard to come back from a loss, particularly at heavyweight. But guys like Lennox Lewis have done it. Guys like Vladimir Klitschko have done it and gone on epic historic runs, right? So I think people underestimate how hard that is to do. It's extraordinarily difficult after a loss like this. But look, man, a lot of people wrote off Daniel Dubois, one of the hosts of this show.
Pete,
wrote off Daniel Dubois.
See, he's talking about you. He remembers. He's got receipts.
And he
The
came
guy
out.
literally had-
Dubois.
The guy literally had his eye hanging out.
Dubois.
His eye was hanging out. And he
you
still went on.
trashed him.
He still went on to
Let
the
me tell you
11th
something.
round, and you gave up on him.
Don't be
never quit
surprised
on
if
him.
he beats Anthony Joshua. I'm
I
not
wouldn't
saying
either.
that's my official pick, but don't be surprised. He's got a
Right.
real chance.
I'll be rooting for Dubois. I think Joshua will win, but I'll
Yeah.
be rooting for Dubois. Ever since
I'm with
Eric
you.
started hating on that guy, man,
Yeah.
it made me love him even more.
There you go. There you go. So look, 3-4 years from now, we might be talking about Anderson in a different light. But I'll say this, and then I'll shut up. A lot of I've seen a lot of different reaction on X and people saying things like, "Oh, he should have never took this fight. He should have never took this." Well, boxing fans, do you want guys to step up and take challenges or not? Dubois stepped up and fought Joe Joyce. He lost, but he learned from it. He got better, and now look at him. So maybe Anderson can do the same thing. I like when guys step up and take challenges. Was Anderson ready for this? No, clearly not. He could not make the adjustments. He was fighting off reflex after the end of that first round. He fought beautifully for two, like you said, Eric, it was like 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And then made one mistake, and Bakole was like, oh shit. Okay, there's something here. And Bacole's a veteran. He's been in there with guys, right? Yeah. So he knew what to keep doing. And he has freakishly long arms and a huge body. You can hit this guy with a baseball bat and you'd be like, okay. You know?
I mean, he was getting hit at will in the body, man.
Dude, Jared Anderson was landing everything. And this dude was just like, all right, whatever.
He just kept coming forward.
Wow, right? This dude's a problem. Let's talk about him. Bakole is a problem for everyone in the division other than Usyk. I think Usyk outboxes him. Other than that, he's a problem for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. And that's the great thing about this fight happening is that we got a new guy on the horizon now.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
And he's got a loss. And that's the thing. I think that Turki Al-Sheikh was talking about this, and I don't remember what it was at the end of the fight, but he had mentioned this before. And he says, so what, you lost, but you fought and you had a good fight, and we're going to bring you back again because it was such a good fight.
It was the fight of the night, and he showed heart. People questioned his heart. He got in there.
He lost.
Balls of steel, bro.
The way he lost.
Thank you.
Yep.
That showed grit.
What's the big deal, dude? People lose. Who gives a shit?
He
got in there and fought. Give the guy some credit.
I kind of hope this goes by like the UFC model, where even if you lose, you're not done. You keep coming back. People still want to see you fight because it's exciting, because it's whatever.
I think that's Turki Al-Sheikh's attitude.
Yeah.
Look at Miller. Miller got another shot. Big baby Miller got another shot after a bad.
Look what he did with it. He got robbed.
Yeah, I thought he won the fight too.
I thought he won the fight 8-4, actually.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the co-main event, which was Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. 12 rounds for Madrimov's WBA title and the vacant WBO title. Crawford wins by unanimous decision, 116-112 and 115-113 twice. Listen, guys, I had the fight scored 117-111 for Crawford, man. It was a technical fight, not overly exciting. Both men, I think, had their moments, but in the end, Crawford clearly, to me, won the fight. Madrimov didn't let his hands go. He was moving forward. He was feinting. He's hard to hit. He's hard to figure out, but he wasn't letting his hands go. And I think you can credit Crawford for that, because I think Crawford was making him pay, because he couldn't just walk Crawford down. He felt some of those shots. Crawford got hit too. That's what I said. Both men had their say in here, but when you could see Madrimov having to reset almost every time when they got into range, Crawford would do a move, do a step, and you'd see Madrimov just have to reset everything again. I can't really make a case for Madrimov win. I know some people had it that way. I can make a case for a draw. I can't really make a case for him actually winning this fight. Mike, what was your take on this?
So I thought both men kind of nullified what each other does. Yeah. It wasn't one way. Madrimov kind of nullified what Crawford does and vice versa. I agree with you that Madrimov should have let his hands go more, and he could have maybe won some of those swing rounds. I thought Crawford did enough good work to kind of pull some of those swing rounds, but I can't go more than 7-5 either way on this. I can't see how you could give more than 7 rounds to either fighter. I think a draw may have been just, but I can see Crawford edging it. Absolutely. I have no problem with the scorecards, the way they went. I'll say this for Madrimov. This was his 11th pro fight. I know 11th. He had 300 plus amateur fights, they say.
That's different. That's different.
Dude, those are 3-round fights. Yeah. For him to take this kind of step up, this wasn't like he's fought guys kind of close to this level. This was a quantum leap in opposition.
Yeah.
And he performed better against Crawford than maybe any opponent Crawford's ever faced.
I think that's his toughest fight. I think it was his toughest fight, Mike. I'll go on record saying
I'm with you, Beeb. I'm with you on that.
D-Style said the same thing to me this morning when he called me.
So
fight. I agreed with him.
My question to you guys is this. What does that tell us about Madrimov, but also what does it tell us about Crawford? And what does it tell us about Spence, Porter, some of the guys Crawford fought at welterweight that we were told were these elite Hall of Fame level guys? What does it say about all that? I think it calls a lot of things into question right now. Now, maybe Crawford, look, he was off for a year. Maybe he just didn't have his best night. But older. I saw Crawford resetting a lot too, Eric. I saw him resetting over and over and over. Both guys were resetting. The difference is Crawford knew when to punch, Madrimov didn't, and that's experience.
Yeah. I'll explain something to you, though.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The resets were more fluid with Crawford, as opposed
more effortless, right? He knew how to hide that shit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
poker face. Right. That's the American style.
You're taking the half step back, and then you're circling.
Yeah,
Madrimov was following him while he was circling. So Madrimov is saying, "I'm pushing this guy back, but it's only just a little bit, and then he's turning me." And while he was resetting, while he was backing up, he was jabbing on the way in and jabbing on the way out. And Madrimov was a little bit overly methodical here because, first of all,
he's trying to be too perfect.
It's experience.
Trying to be too perfect, but because Crawford fought the majority of the fight in the southpaw stance, it's hard to get the jab off against a southpaw fighter when you're trying to get lead hand control. And Crawford is really good at getting lead hand control in either stance. So that's number one. Number two, Crawford is a great counterpuncher. And as I said, and I think you agree with me, the resets were more fluid on Crawford's end.
You're absolutely right.
So because of that, I think Madrimov had to be a little more hesitant because he knew if he was, a little bit over aggressive, he can get picked apart and countered all night, and that was the problem. But with all that being said, you still have to try with the jab. He wasn't really trying with the jab, and again, hindsight's 20/20, whatever the case may be. And when you fight in spurts like he did, and I talked to Eric about this, those spurts have to be really dominant, amounts of time in that round. Where even though like Crawford was, I thought was controlling more of the round than Madrimov did. So if you're going to fight in spurts, you better make those spurts count. Those punches that you're landing in those spurts have to be really eye-catching, buckling shots, head-snapping shots, and that wasn't the case. So I had it 115 and 113 for Crawford, and I thought a lot of those quiet rounds where you could have called them swing rounds, I thought like round 1, 4, and 8 were probably the 3 closest rounds in the fight. A lot of people thought 3 was a swing round too. So, but I thought that in those rounds, when Crawford was backing up and circling, at least he was jabbing. He was doing.
He filled
something.
the gaps. He filled the gaps.
Filled
right?
the gaps. Perfect.
And
Well
that's just
said.
experience. That's experience.
And that's all it is experience.
So
And I
let
think-
me ask you this then: who can do better in a rematch? Who can improve their level from what we saw last night more in a rematch at this stage of their career?
I think Crawford, because he's the guy who switches and adapts more effortlessly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what's going
Fair
to
enough.
happen is this is what's going to happen, Mike, in my opinion. If there is a rematch, and you could hear this in the corner, because Joel Diaz is that type of guy where he will come forward, walk him down, pressure. So we know what they're going to do. Madrimov is going to take a lot more chances in the second fight, and Crawford's going to kind of know what I kind of know he's going to change levels on me when he's coming in. I kind of know he likes to move his head a little bit, so he's gonna watch all that stuff, and I think he'll make the adjustments more effortlessly, and I think he'll be able to adapt better. And Madrimov is just going to be more aggressive, and that could be a disadvantage to him because I think that'll open up more counterpunching opportunities for Crawford.
Just like Spence. That's what
Correct.
Spence did. I think Madrimov watched the Spence fight and was like, okay, let me do the opposite of what Spence did, which is smart in the early rounds, but you gotta pick it up and you gotta fill those gaps.
Yeah.
And that's what Crawford, with his experience, Crawford was hesitant. I've never seen Crawford so hesitant and so respectful of an opponent. I really haven't.
Yeah.
Some of those right hands that Madrimov got in there, they bothered Crawford.
They were big shots.
Yes,
They were big
enough
shots.
to wwhere he was like, whoa, okay, this dude's serious. This dude ain't
Yeah.
no joke. And he knew he had to be careful. But to Beeb's point, I think that Crawford was definitely more effortless with his switches and his movements. And then he filled the gaps with that. It's like, okay, let me back up and just shoot a shot, get something off. The judges see that. I'm filling the gap. Boom, I got that swing round. It's just smart, brilliant, tactical boxing by one of the best technicians we've seen this century in Terrence Crawford.
Crawford better than Floyd Mayweather, technically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't.
At welterweight?
At welterweight,
Give me
yes.
Crawford points over Floyd. And I know that's going to piss off people in the chat. I don't give a shit. I just don't care. I'm at the point in my life I don't care. Give me Crawford points against Mayweather.
Yeah,
I
would go along with that. He's a big guy, like I said,
So
and just
the
very
inside
technical,
work, bro.
Very technical.
Mayweather couldn't do a free
Here's a problem too, like
dang thing.
Mayweather.
Crawford.
Yeah.
Even though Mayweather's not the biggest welterweight in the world, one thing he always had was not just his athletic ability, but he was very strong, more so strong than people gave him credit for.
Grappling.
But here's the problem. Crawford's very strong too. He's probably stronger, probably quick, probably
his wrist, his
arms, probably quicker or just as quick, but hits harder,
switches better,
taller, longer, switches.
Knows how to work inside with the clinches, the wrestling.
Yeah. He's meaner.
Yeah, there's more dimensions.
Give me Bud points on that.
And he doesn't have hand problems.
Yeah, that's true too. Bang Mateo, thank you so much. He said Bud received the benefit of the doubt from the judges as if he was the champion. Madrimov was treated as the challenger, and Eddie Hearn was 100% correct.
Here's the problem with that. When you start using things that aren't in the 4 criteria of scoring, then that's kind of a weak argument.
Yeah.
It's, defense, clean, effective punch, effective aggressiveness, and ring generalship. Doesn't say take it from the champion. That's not part of the criteria. So when you have to start using things that's not part of the criteria, then you lose. You lose the argument.
That's it. I get it, man. So let's talk about, for both fighters, man, let's talk about Madrimov first. I would like to see him in there. I mean, he took on the pound for pound best guy. This wasn't, and he took him to the very limit. Some people think he won, some people don't, but it was close. A lot of people say it was close. Number one, do we want to see a rematch of this, or does Madrimov go against another bigger guy? Not a bigger guy, but just a name guy, another name guy. Because I don't want to see him go backwards from this, because I thought he gave Crawford everything he could handle.
Yeah. The reason why I don't want to see a rematch personally, because it wasn't a horrible fight, but it wasn't a great fight either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's number one. Number two, there's bigger fish to fry for Crawford. I think, no disrespect to Madrimov, he just wanted this fight because he knew this was a tough challenge for him, and he kind of wanted to test the waters at the weight, and he wanted to pick up a belt, right? Checked all the boxes.
Yes.
Madrimov could fight anybody. You know what? I'd love to see Madrimov fight Tim Tszyu. Style-wise,
that's a great fight.
That's a beautiful
great fight.
But I will say this. I was going back and forth with the potential Crawford-Canelo matchup. But I made a decision, and I'm pretty confident on this decision. Here's the thing: you can argue Madrimov has some similarities to Canelo, the pressure, the fights and spurts. Not the same, but some similarities in the fact that they both fight in spurts. They both can counterpunch a little bit. They're both not really fast-paced fighters. They're not prolific punchers when it comes to activity, right? There's some similarities. They're not the same, right? You could argue maybe Madrimov is quicker with his feet, hand speed's comparable, but here's the problem. Crawford could not hurt Madrimov last night. Couldn't put a dent in him. That's number one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, though. I think Crawford buzzed him. I think Crawford
buzzed him, but couldn't put a dent in him
times
because he didn't stop him from coming forward. That's number one. Number two, one thing about Canelo, even when he gives up rounds in a lot of fights, he always lands that one punch that just turns the fight, right?
Just like Usyk.
Yeah.
So Crawford has to fight a perfect fight. There's a lot of margin for error for Canelo because he does have that one punch that can turn the fight. And, if he does land that one punch that turns the fight against Crawford, and if Crawford can't put a dent in Canelo, then I'm going to have to say that Canelo could possibly stop Crawford, in my opinion.
Two more weight classes. You're talking about from 154 to 160 to 160. Canelo's not coming down. You're going to have to go up two more weight classes.
Yeah.
And just seeing you with Madrimov, and Madrimov, again, excellent fighter. We get it. However, this was, listen, man, you're talking two more weight classes on top of that. That's a lot. That's a lot coming from, 147 to 150. It's a lot.
He has to fight the perfect fight. He can't make any mistakes. Canelo can make mistakes because I don't think that Crawford's going to land. I'm not saying anyone can hurt anybody, but I'm just talking about probabilities here. I'm not talking about possibilities. I'm talking about probabilities. Canelo's got one of the best chins I've ever seen in the sport of boxing. That's number one.
Yeah.
And fair point to you. Maybe he buzzed Madrimov enough to freeze him in his tracks on occasion, but there was no earth-shattering punches landed by either fighter. I would even argue the right hand of Madrimov probably had more of an effect than any punch Crawford threw in that fight, if I want to be honest. But they were just far and few in between.
Because he was coming forward. Madrimov kept coming forward all night, but he wasn't firing shots.
But the thing
and that's a bit because he knows what's coming back.
But the thing is, if Canelo starts ripping that body with the left hooks on the inside,
completely different fight. Agreed.
Like think about it. Look at some of the fights. Even the Amir Khan fight. Amir Khan looked like he was outboxing Canelo. One punch turned it. Caleb Plant was getting some early rounds in. One punch turned it. So many fights in Canelo's career. Austin Trout, he was giving Canelo trouble. One punch turned it, and then the fight turned for Canelo. Even in the Arislani Lara fight, Arislani Lara winning rounds, pestering, being pesky, irritating Canelo. Landed that uppercut, busted his eye open. The fight changed. Then he had to fight a different fight. Arislani Lara, he couldn't see out of the eye because of the damage of that uppercut. So there's in a lot of Canelo's fights, he'll be losing rounds, giving up activity, fighting in spurts, but he does have that one punch type of power that can just turn a fight on a dime. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just – you're making great points. I can't disagree. But my question would be, is Canelo the same guy? In his last couple fights, I get that he dropped a Munguia, right? But an ancient Golovkin went the distance with – and I think Canelo maybe carried him a little bit in that fight.
I think Canelo carried Munguia at the end. I almost think Canelo could have stopped Munguia in the 12th round. He was hurt.
He's on the dark side of his career, no question.
Yes,
but even Crawford.
That's my point here.
Has Crawford peaked too, though, Mike? That's another question. And these
maybe,
long layoffs.
He's 37.
I'll tell you this. Mark my words. If these two fight at 168, Crawford is taller, Crawford is longer. He will look like. I know you're going to say I'm crazy. He will look like the bigger man. He looked like the bigger man in spots against Madrimov.
I thought he looked like the bigger man.
That was his first fight at junior middleweight.
I said it's Eric. Like Crawford looks bigger than Madrimov during the fight week.
A lot of people out there don't understand some of these guys are just able, because of their body frame and their shape, they're able to get down and weight better than other guys. Canelo has a wrestler frame. He has an MMA fighter's frame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
He doesn't have a boxer's frame. He just has really good hand speed and upper body movement, right? But he's built like an MMA fighter, like a wrestler. So in the ring, these two, Crawford will be longer. He will be arguably faster, definitely faster with his feet. He'll have better angles and spacing and timing. I don't know, dude. I give Crawford a really good chance of winning that fight in 2024. I'm putting it on the record right now.
I'm interested to see if it gets made, because after what they saw last night, the consensus is going to be that's going to be a bridge too far for him.
Maybe that's what it takes for Canelo to take that fight, though.
That's a great point too. Yeah, I wonder.
Always remember, these dudes played chess.
Yeah,
Crawford knows where the money is. Maybe he was playing some chess last night. I'm just putting it out there. Here's
the thing. Here's the thing too, right? After Berlanga, what else is out there for Canelo?
Exactly.
If they drop a suitcase of money in front of Canelo to fight Crawford,
and Turkey will.
It's gonna get.
Did
you see the interview with Turkey and Turkey Al-Sheikh? And they said something about do you think Canelo can you get Canelo to take the fight? And he says, well, if Canelo's smart, he'll take the fight. It was something along those lines. But he sounded like such a gangster there. Like he was going to threaten him like the Godfather scene or something like that.
I'll give him an offer and can't refuse.
Yeah. He wakes up with a horse in his bed or something like that. I was like, and the announcer came back and he says, just to reiterate, and he tried to clear that up like it wasn't a threat or anything like that. I mean, we all knew it was,
That was hilarious.
Yeah. I just found it funny, man.
The way Turkey Al-Sheikh was like, the way he moves though, he moves like a gangster, like not like in a bad way, but the guy, when he walks in the room, you could just tell he's going to garner respect. Like he just carries himself that way.
And everybody is just praising him. Yeah, everybody's praising him left and right, man.
I see them grab Dana White like this and stop pulling him around the room, and Dana's just following the fucking guy. I'm like, this dude's boss, bro.
Yeah, because he's putting money in people's pockets. When you got money like that, you can command respect. So that's where he's at.
Crazy amount of money too, man. Do you think so the next fight for Terrence Crawford, will it be Canelo or will it be Virgil Ortiz? Because that's what Turkey Al-Sheikh said. If it's not him, it's going to be Virgil Ortiz.
Either or.
I think look, I don't know if Virgil Ortiz gets past Sergey Bohacek. That's a tough fight. I would favor Ortiz, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But assuming he gets past him, if you're Terrence Crawford and you're on the downside of your career, and now it's about legacy, it's about money, stacking paper, who does that better, Canelo or Ortiz? Who's a more winnable fight? I know this is going to be unpopular. I think it's Canelo. Hold on. Let's see how Canelo looks against Berlanga. If he looks great and he's dominant and explosive, but what if Berlanga takes him the distance?
That's what I was just about to say. If he takes
guys? That's my prediction. I think Berlanga's taking him the distance. And it's going to be a 116, 112 kind of fight.
You know why? Wow. Because one thing about Berlanga, if he does get hurt, he could go into survival mode. Like he does move a lot. He backs up and he likes to use a lot of the ring. We've seen him kind of do that in fights where if he knows he can't hurt somebody, he'll get on his bicycle and he'll move. Mm-hmm. He will move. And I said that it's not ridiculous. Everyone's like, oh. I thought Munguia was going to go the distance. I thought I thought Ryder was going to do the distance.
I did too on my show. I got the receipts. I said the same thing.
I was picking Canelo by decision, like in his last, like in 5-6 fights. Like
he doesn't stop guys anymore. Who's the last guy he stopped? Was it Plant?
Plant.
Okay, and that was what 10th, 11th round, something like that. And that was Plant's first step up.
Believe it or not,
nobody before that.
Believe it or not, I had that fight 5-5. Most people had like 6-4.
Close fight. It was a good fight.
Yeah, a lot of people had that fairly close.
I thought Plant was winning rounds. He put some early rounds in the bank. I really did. He fought a lot better than I expected him to. But if Berlanga does go the distance, then then I may kind of give Crawford more of a ray of hope. But if he just bangs Berlanga out of there and says I'm just going to take this, I think he could have stopped Munguia, and that's just my opinion. I think once he hurt him, I think it looked like he let his looked like he let his foot off the gas a little bit, just like when Buatsi fought Dan Aziz. He hurt him really bad, and then he backed up, and it's almost. I think sometimes these guys, let each other off the hook.
I know Canelo carried Golovkin in that third fight.
Yeah, I think he carried Golovkin. Yeah,
and I'm a huge Golovkin guy. You guys know that. No, I'm a big Canelo guy too, and I have that good authority that Canelo basically was like, "This is the best guy I've ever fought, and I have massive respect for him, and I'm not going to embarrass him here. We're going to entertain the fans and put on a show and go the distance." That's what happened.
Yeah, I think so too. But here with Berlanga's kind of a shit talker. He's a Puerto Rican guy. No disrespect. I mean, it's but you know,
rivalry.
That's a rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, Canelo doesn't want to be that guy to take out the heir apparent in Munguia. So he kind of gave him a little bit of grace there. If this does go the distance, if Berlanga is able to survive, we can get on his bicycle and kind of move and do what Charlo did if he gets hurt.
Yeah.
It could go the distance.
That's what that's my pick. That's my pick.
So that is not out of the realm. But you know what, Mike? I may go that too. You may have convinced me. You may have convinced me.
Cool.
Because I thought I that was in the back of my mind, like, yeah, you know, everyone thinks Berlanga is this killer, but I seen him back up and circle guys like that in certain fights where he knows he can't get the guy out of there. He gets a lot less aggressive.
And Canelo at this stage of his career, I just don't know if he can close that gap and force the stoppage.
And here's another thing.
Plant walked into him, and that's how Plant got caught, right? So.
And again, Plant was talking shit before the fight. He wanted to knock him out.
Yeah, the push and all that.
The thing about Canelo too is, like, even when he fought Cotto, if he can win and not have to push the envelope all the way, he'll do it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't feel like overextending himself, and he just wants to move on to the next one, he'll do it. He doesn't mind putting around.
Canelo Chavez, remember that?
Yeah. But just coasted. He'll coast in fights if he knows he's winning.
Also, he'll coast in fights if he knows he has another big fight down the line.
Yeah.
So Canelo Chavez, I remember being ringside for that, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, step it up. But that was a commercial for Canelo Golovkin. Yeah, that's what that fight was.
Because you don't want to get injured. You don't want to hurt himself. You don't want to get cut. You don't want to get a head. You don't want to get a headbutt.
Once again, knowing that Crawford fight's on the line, I would bet the over for Canelo Berlanga.
Yeah, you
just putting it out there.
You convinced me. I'll take it too. I'm going to do that.
There you go. There you go. All right, let's talk about Isaac Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela. 12 rounds for the WBA junior welterweight champion. Jose Valenzuela upset Pitbull Cruz by split decision. 115-113 for Cruz and 116-112 twice for Valenzuela. Beeb, was this a surprise to you?
Yes, I thought Cruz was going to win this fight by knockout. I thought eventually he'd get on the inside, start ripping the body apart, and landing those short hooks and uppercuts on the inside. And I thought he was going to get Valenzuela out of there. I did not think Valenzuela was going to be able to keep him on the outside the way he did in this fight. And he was able to really keep him at bay, keep him at the end of the jab. He was and even he was landing uppercuts too. He's landing he was fighting very, very capably on the inside himself. He was throwing short shots on the inside himself. And I didn't expect that out of Valenzuela. I'm not saying that he couldn't do that. I just didn't think he'd be able to do it against this guy. And he was getting Cruz's attention in this fight too. And that's another thing. He was impressive in a lot of ways for me in this fight. I thought he was going to get stopped. I thought he was going to get worn down. I thought he would break down. And he held firm in this fight. He did not break down at all. And he stayed the course. And Cruz was trying, but he just couldn't put the shots together because he had that jab that Venezuela kept landing, kept making Cruz reset, and he just couldn't get his offense flowing because of Venezuela's jab. That was the big difference here, you know. And he was when he was throwing the jab, he was lining them up, pop, 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 and then he would throw like a power shot right behind it. He just had a good rhythm going for himself. It's almost like he could really pick up on Cruz. He's like kind of gauging and timing the bobs and the weaves on the coming in on the way in, and he just got a feel for him, and he picked up on his rhythm. And once he did that, it was he just was picking him apart. It really was.
Mike, where does Cruz go from here?
That's a great question. Matt, so I actually thought I expected a distance fight, and I thought Valenzuela was going to give him a really, really tough fight. But I thought if it was close that they'd give Cruz a decision. I thought they'd rob Valenzuela at a chance they could, because the power structure in boxing needs to uphold Cruz to prop up other fighters that, are the lead of certain promotions. So I thought that's the politics of boxing and how this would play out, but it didn't happen. Valenzuela had fought extraordinarily well, and Cruz, look, I know people on this team and people in this management, and they're awesome people, and I like Cruz, but he's just never been that elite guy. Yeah. He's just not. He's not on the level that he's been sold as. And at 140, he's really undersized. He doesn't have game-changing power in that division. He's going to struggle, dude. He's going to make for fun fights because he's a tough guy, throws a lot of punches, comes forward. So he's going to be entertaining and make for tough fights. Do I see him winning a legitimate belt? Because the belt, let's be honest, the belt that he won was crap. Do I see him winning a legitimate belt at 140 or something? No, I don't. So I don't know. I mean, if he could go back down to 135, there's probably better options for him there. But the rematch with Davis is out the window now. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
For sure.
And that's what he's been lobbying for. They wanted to.
Yeah, and that's what he's been lobbying for, and you've heard all that. Because, Gervonta Davis doesn't really have a dance partner now. I mean, Shakur's going another way. Lomachenko, is going to be off till next year. So Cruz sounded like the obvious choice, but now that's out the window. So we'll see what happens. Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Big Baby Miller, 10 rounds heavyweights. Miller and Ruiz fought to a draw, 116-112 for Miller and 114 even on the other two cards. I definitely thought Miller won the fight. I thought he was just busier down the stretch. Ruiz looked like he gassed in round 4. And to me, it's amazing how being off 2 years and coming in at 275 pounds will do that to a person. Honestly, I don't need to see either one of these guys again. I really don't. Both of them. I can send them out.
Yeah. Apparently Ruiz injured his hand, I think, in the 5th round. And that's when
I did see his hand. His hand looked bad.
Yeah, it looked bad, right? Bad. I think that injury is 100% due to his inactivity.
Yeah.
When you're not sharp, he didn't close his fist. He threw a punch and landed on the head with an open fist, and that broke his bones. That happens a lot. I think it happened to Wilder at one point too. When you're not active and you're not fighting often enough and you're not sharp, those sorts of things happen. And so it wasn't surprising. This fight was frustrating to me because Miller, I was tweeting during the fight, or I don't even know if it's called tweeting anymore. I was posting on
Xing
during the fight. Yeah, I was Xing, and I said something to the effect of like any top 10 heavyweight would have iced Andy Ruiz by now.
Yeah,
he was there to be had in those middle to late rounds, and I mean any of these top guys would have just floored him and got him out of there. And Miller just kind of kept playing with his food. And I'm like, dude, you're not the A side here. You're in Southern California fighting a Mexican-American former heavyweight title holder. You got to throw some punches.
Yeah.
And I just thought he didn't do enough. I still thought Miller won the fight.
Yeah.
But I could see, I posted on X. I X'd right before the decision was announced. I said, listen, they're going to rob this dude blind, but he's a drug cheat. So who gives a shit? That's basically what
that's exactly where I was with it.
No one feels sorry for him.
No, and that's exactly where I was with it. And Andy Ruiz, I mean, he didn't look like he wanted to be there, and he showed us in spurts, he was still fast and he still had the good hands and everything.
And toughness.
Yeah.
Toughness and grit.
But he didn't want to be there. You could tell. And like you said, the other guy's a drug cheat, should have been suspended for a year and put various promotions in trouble with the
banned. Do you know how many drugs he tested positive for?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It was ridiculous, So, yeah, the fact that he, fought a draw and he should have won, who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah, who cares? Beeb, any thoughts on this? Who did you have in this fight? You had Miller?
I thought Miller won the fight 8-4, but again, Ruiz got off to a great start, definitely putting the shots together, hand speed. But again, after that injury, it seemed like he couldn't keep up with the activity. Looked like he was gassing a little bit too. So obviously, I think that would be as a result of the 2-year layoff. But I still think Miller did do enough to win. But I think he, like Mike said, he did get a little too comfortable and he tried to coast. And when you see the guys slow down as much as Ruiz slow down, throwing one punch at a time, giving you opportunities to giving you openings, you might as well take.
Ruiz backed up.
Yeah, you might as well take him. When you got a guy on the ropes just sitting there, you gotta go after him. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I agree. David Morrell versus Radovoj Kaladzic, 12 rounds for the WBA vacant regular light heavyweight title. This card was stacked. It really was, man. Morrell wins a unanimous decision over Kaladzic, 117-111 choice and 118-110. I thought Morrell looked good. I don't know. The announcers were talking about the other guy was winning. You know, you hear like those DAZN announcers you heard him say, yeah, he's winning this fight, you know, and then they go to the scorecards and it's completely lopsided the other way. Like, just call the fight. You guys are, you know, like, just call the fight. Don't tell me who's winning or lose. Just call the fight. You know, and that's the biggest problem I had with the announce team last night.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, HBO boxing, right? It was Harold Letterman would give a scorecard.
Yeah.
No one else would give a scorecard.
Right.
So Larry and Jim would call the fights, or back when Emmanuel was doing it, or Big George,
right,
or Roy Jones, and then, you know, they give in there. Larry Merchant would come in. I'm sorry, not Larry. Harold Letterman would give his scorecard, right? DAZN, that's what they should do. I think with everyone scoring the fight, particularly when you're doing commentary, you can't really score a fight because your focus isn't there. So
right,
I'm with you. That being said, those scorecards were too wide, and on paper, Morrell was supposed to destroy this guy and knock him out. That didn't happen. Also, I have to call out the WBA. How the hell was the title on the line in this fight when you have a long-standing champion who is about to fight for the undisputed championship later this year?
Yeah.
God, they're horrible. Not as bad as the IOC, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that.
They're so bad, dude. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't understand. I wish they would, you know, like I said, the one guy's card was like, again, with Letterman was a professional judge, was he not? Yeah, he was a professional judge.
He was in New Jersey.
He was a super interesting guy. He was like a pharmacist.
Yeah.
During the week, and then he would do scoring on the weekend. Like,
right.
How awesome is that? Yeah.
I know, you know. And it's like, you know, he was a professional judge. You guys aren't professional judges. Just stop trying to score it. Stop trying to tell me he's winning. Just call the action. That's all you have to do. Just call the action.
I agree.
Andy Cruz versus Antonio Moran, 10 rounds lightweights. Cruz wins by 7th round TKO over Moran. And that was it for the DAZN card. Worth $80? Was it worth $80?
Can I tell the truth?
For your average person, was it worth $80?
Probably
in this economy?
Probably not.
Yeah, right.
No. But I'm going to be totally honest, guys. And like, I know this is really unprofessional, but there have been several pay-per-views this year that I've paid for.
Yeah.
This was the Fire Stick special. It just was.
Yeah.
Like this, to me, Usyk and Fury was history. That wasn't the greatest card, but that fight, I was like, I'll pay for this shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to rely on the Fire Stick. It might drop, whatever. But this one, yeah, I can watch this on the Fire Stick. If I miss it, I'll find it on YouTube. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah. I didn't pay for it. Sorry if that offends people.
It offends me. I pay for all of them. Beeb, you paid for this, didn't you? Beeb he paid for it too. Absolutely. We're right by the book here at Ringside Reporter.
I can't release financial information according to the board of directors.
Industries is a
Board
private
of directors at Beep Industries, they don't want me to put information.
I know, that's code language.
I mean, if people want to pull the tax reports, they have the right to do that.
IPTV, who is that in the chat? IPTV, that's exactly what I got.
IPTV.
Dude, IPTV is...
I've never heard of it, so I'm going to take your word for it.
Right, I really can't speak on certain things like that.
No, absolutely not. And nor do we condone that here.
Can't say things with certain things without my attorney being present.
IOC? That sounds like some IOC shit.
Oh, that's cold-blooded, man. All right, so let's talk about this because I know, Mike, you're limited here, so I want to get to this before you have to go. Let's talk about the news and rumors, and let's talk about this Olympic boxing thing. So we got 2 fighters in here, Iman Khalif and Lin Tu Ting, of Taiwan. And I'm going to focus on Khalif here because she's been taking the brunt of this argument. She really has. Here are the facts. Khalif was assigned female at birth and identifies as a woman. She's not trans or anything like that. Furthermore, Khalif's father, who did not approve of girls boxing when Khalif first got into the sport, has publicly shown his daughter's birth certificate to prove that she is a woman. According to reports, it is also illegal to change your gender in Algeria. By the way, it's also illegal to be gay in Algeria. So my first points here are going to come. This girl's from Algeria, a Muslim country, in a country where it's illegal for gays to get married or just to be gay, period. It's illegal. All right. They take that stuff seriously over there. You know, it just is. Whether you agree with it or not, doesn't matter because that's the way it is. It's fact. All right. The tests that were reported, all right, were from the IBA, the International Boxing Association, which has its own problems. Let's leave those out of it. Let's leave the IOC's corruption out of it. Let's leave the IBA's corruption out of it for just a second here, okay? Because we can bring that up and we can cancel everything out and all that other good stuff. They reported, the IBA actually reported that Khalif had a XY chromosome. You can have a XY chromosome and be female. You can carry and deliver a baby naturally to term. Okay.
No, you can't.
No,
You
you
can't.
can't.
You can't. You have to be artificially. You have to be artificially
donor
inseminated.
egg, and you have to get.
You have to be artificially
You have to
inseminated.
get a donor egg. Listen up. You have to get a donor egg, correct?
Yeah.
If I gave you a donor egg, could you carry a baby?
No.
Why?
Because I don't have a uterus.
There you go. All right. So you can carry it. You cannot produce eggs if you have Swire. What is it? Swire syndrome?
Swire syndrome.
Yeah,
And Lisa was telling me, my wife was telling me that there's other things too.
Yeah.
There's other conditions, but they fall under the same. It's not DSG. I can't think of the.
Yeah. The IOC said, this is their statement from the IOC. I repeat, this is not a DSD case. This is about a woman taking part in a women's competition. And I think I have explained this many times. What was intended here, but I repeat, this is not a transgender case. This is about a woman taking part in a women's competition, and I think I've explained this many times.
Okay, but let me finish
it's not
this.
DSD. Yeah, go ahead.
But she cannot produce eggs. While if she has Swire, she cannot produce eggs.
Yeah.
But she can carry a baby to term. She would have to have an implant. You know, just like anybody else who was having trouble getting pregnant or anything else, she can have an egg and she can carry a baby to term and deliver the baby naturally. Okay?
But it's not a DSD case. The IOC is saying so. They're not saying that this is. They're not saying that she has a different sexual condition.
Right, but the IBA is saying that.
No, the IBA said
they said they have an XY chromosome.
The IBA said she has an XY. She has XY chromosome.
That's all they said.
That's all they said.
And they banned her. And then some journalists took it and ran with it and said she's a man, and said they were both men. And they took this and ran with it. So this girl. So this girl, who's biologically, until proven otherwise, is a biological female, right? And is getting hammered by everybody. Trump has tweeted about it. And he tweets about everything. Clarissa Shields was on Fox trashing her. This has gone on over and over. But again, she's a female.
She's a biological
male. She's not a biological male.
She took a DNA test and she has XY chromosomes.
Can a male carry a baby? Because that's what we're talking about here.
She's a man. She doesn't have DSD. She doesn't have it. I repeat, this is not a DSD case. This is about a woman taking part in a women's competition. This is a quote from the IOC. She didn't appeal her case. And they didn't give. She
appealed the IBA. She withdrew it. But it's just like, but how many times do we see a bad decision and they file an appeal and they lose? Or you got to figure there's money involved here. Mike, go ahead.
Okay. I just need a minute. This is your show. I don't want I'm not trying to take over your show, but okay. This is a complex issue. It's sensitive. There are people that have a lot of different viewpoints. We're in an election year. There are pundits on the left and the right that are using this as a wedge issue to push their political propaganda and all. I'm not interested in any of that shit. We can have the metaphysical, philosophical argument. Is this a man, a woman, a man with female reproductive organs, a female with male chromosomes, an intersect? We can have that debate. I'm not really interested in that as much as I am interested in fair sport and protecting women. The bottom line is this. If you have the Y chromosome, you have elevated T levels. If you go through puberty with those elevated T levels, you have your musculature is stronger, your bone density is greater, your lung capacity is greater, among other things, right?
It's all science.
So it's just biology. You can not only dole out more punishment, but you can absorb more punishment back. You have more stamina to dole out and absorb more punishment late in the fight when you're tired. I can continue. So if an athlete has a Y chromosome, I don't give a shit what's in their underpants or how they identify or who they sleep with. I don't care about any of that. That's their personal life. I don't care. Live your life. If you have the Y chromosome, it is unethical, unsafe, and unfair to compete against XX athletes, period, end of. So let me just, Eric, let me just say, if you're the IOC and you know what happened in 2023 at the World Championships, you knew this controversy was coming. You could have nipped this in the bud by doing a simple chromosome test, a blood test, and release a medical report saying, we have proven that this person has XX chromosomes, both the Taiwanese boxer and the Algerian boxer, XX chromosomes. There was no controversy here. Not only would you be the hero, not only would you quell all this controversy, not only would you exonerate the athletes who are taking unfair punishment, global scrutiny. This isn't just like a country. This is global, right?
Global, yeah, for sure.
You do all that, but you'd also stick it to the Russians, which we know the IOC is pro-Ukraine, anti-Russian, the IBA, Russian organization, okay? This would be your chance to stick it to the Russians and prove they're full of shit, which we know the entire Western media and the IOC would love to do. Stick it to Putin's ass.
Right.
They didn't do that. Pay careful attention to the statements the IOC has made. They have not refuted the XY chromosome thing. They haven't mentioned it. They have not outright, out loud refuted it. So there's also, it wasn't just the IBA official, the president. I think there was the vice president of the WBO, which is another global body, backed up those claims that these fighters have XY chromosomes, right?
Yep.
All I want, I'm not on the left or the right. I don't give a shit about the politics of this. I'm not, it's not political. It's apolitical. I care about protecting women. I have 2 daughters. This shit matters to me, okay? I want to know, does this person have a Y chromosome? Let me know. Do the test. Make it public. And for the record, the IBA did not make their test public. They didn't release them.
No, they didn't.
So we're taking one authority's word over the other, okay? So we're all of us, we don't know if this person has Swyer syndrome or one of the other. There's several syndromes, okay, that they could have that put them here, and maybe they're somewhere in the middle. You're talking about 1,000% of the population that doesn't quite fit 100% into the XX or XY thing, like 99.999% of us.
Right.
Okay. Well, you know what? There are people born missing limbs. We have Paralympics for them. There are people born with Down syndrome. We have Special Olympics for them. Perhaps we need to have a different category for people in this realm.
Again, we don't even know.
But
we don't even know if she's DSD though, because the IOC said this is not a DSD case.
I'm with you, Beep. And here's the thing: them not
Joshua Eubank.
Them. Sorry, my phone's ringing. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Them not publicly putting out the information and saying, and here's the thing too, their statement, I'm paraphrasing, but their statement said, well, we go by what's on their passport. That's how we validate gender. And I'm like, guys, this isn't a fucking circus pulling up into a Walmart parking lot in the middle of nowhere.
In the US, you can put anything on there. Like if I'm a male, I can put female on my passport.
One of my boys from my old life before I was a tax-paying citizen, and I could get a passport saying I'm Japanese in 10 minutes.
Right.
Okay. That's your standard. This is the Olympics. It's the pinnacle of global competition.
Right.
That's your standard.
Right.
The Y chromosome
is male.
Is male. It gives you male characteristics.
Right. And a lot of people born with Swyer syndrome. Eric, to your point, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go.
I just need to get this in before I have to go put my girls to bed. A lot of people born with Swyer syndrome, almost 99% of cases, they are assigned female at birth because they have what appears to be female reproductive organs external. The internal female reproductive organs most of them are non-functional. They have gonadal tissue that does not produce hormones. They have to usually undergo extensive hormonal therapy just to get puberty going. You talked about they have to get donor eggs because they don't produce eggs, right?
Correct,
So
yes.
they're kind of in the middle there, but they
And
get
even then,
assigned female.
they still may not be able to deliver too. It's very rare that they have
Right.
kids.
It's actually quite
It's not
rare.
impossible, but it's highly improbable.
But it's possible.
But they're assigned female at
But it's
birth
highly
because they
improbable.
look female because of the.
You can't have a kid because you have
Chances
rights.
are they can't
But-
either.
But Eric,
very rare
cases that
Eric,
they do
some
have
of these
kids.
people have what appears to be female reproductive organs. It's actually inverted male reproductive organs,
Right.
and they're non-functional, and they can't
Still have
have
a kid
kids.
and
But
beat
then-
the
but
shit
do
out
But
of
we
they're
them.
have-
still
but let
assigned
me ask you
female
this,
at
though.
birth because it looks female.
Right.
And even
But do
understand?
we, yeah,
And
I
even if
do.
you have a kid, though, it
But
doesn't.
do we have different classifications of women now? We have women in group A who fit the stereotype, and then women in group B.
It's
And do
not
we
a
do the same thing
stereotype.
for males?
not a
Not
stereotype.
Gender is
I'm sorry,
binary.
that was the wrong term. But and let me ask you a question. Joe Joyce, we're gonna pull him out of here because didn't he
Not
say he had a
comparable.
thicker?
It's not. I know where you're going.
You
It's
know
not
where I'm
comparable.
going. Why
It's
is
not
it not
comparable.
comparable? What's the difference?
There's a Y
It
chromosome.
gives him an advantage, but
a
it
Y,
gives him an advantage. No,
a Y chromosome. Biology is binary. There's XX and XY. Now,
right?
are there genetic abnormalities? Yes. But human beings are designed to have 2 arms and 2 legs. There are people born missing legs, missing arms. Okay. There are genetic abnormalities that take place in nature. But XX is female, XY is male from a biological standpoint.
Biological.
And there are different chemicals in your body and different musculature and skeletal. Men and women's knees are different. Our ankles are built differently.
There are
Right.
things a Y chromosome will allow somebody to do that an X chromosome will not allow them to do.
Precisely.
It's like it would be like
Regardless
allowing-
of what
it would be
organs you
allowing
have in
people-
your pants.
And here's the thing about the testing, right? No testing is ever released. Like VADA, they say adverse finding. The only way we know the exact details is when the fighter leaks it to the press.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they
No-
release
yeah,
it
but
to
you
the
know what?
fighters.
No one-
but
They
no
can
one
release
ever-
it. They can release it.
But
HIPAA doesn't exist over there.
No, I know
They
they
can
can release
do-
it if they want. Anyone
Right.
can release anything if it's not a doctor, like we discussed. But
Right, right.
What I'm trying
yeah,
to
we're
tell
not
you-
asking for
this
their
is what I'm trying
medical
to tell you.
history. That's
What I'm trying to-
private.
What I'm trying to tell you is, by history, no one ever knows the results of any test that's given to an athlete unless the athlete themselves releases it. That's like
But I
VADA's not going to go out and give somebody other than the fighter or the promoter or the commission the actual report from the WADA accredited lab. See what I'm saying? So if she had the test, if she had a copy of the test, she could release it. But they're not going to just release the copy to the press. No one does that. VADA doesn't do that.
Yes,
VADA
but-
doesn't.
but
VADA
Beeb,
doesn't take.
They may not release the actual document, but they can say we have confirmed with medical reports that this
Just
person
like
is
what's
XX or
being done
XY.
here.
Right?
They have confirmed that the test, the DNA test, came back.
That's what
with
the
XY.
IBA says,
That's what
right?
the
That's what the
IBA
IBA
says.
says. So it's their word against the IOCs. But I will say
Right.
this, Eric, there are 2 people, okay, that the IBA official, that's a amateur global governing body,
Which
and
has
the
been around for
WBO
72
official.
years. They've been
They've
around for
gone on the
72 years.
record. They've made it public, and they've said, hey, these people have XY chromosomes.
5 of them.
Nobody on the IOC, nobody has gone on record publicly where they could face legal repercussions if they're caught lying,
Right.
has said XX. That
Can I ask?
leaves
They didn't
speculation.
Another
test
question?
for it, but they didn't test for that. They can't say that because they didn't test for it.
Well, they should test for it. Here's a
They're going to
problem.
test it, but that's the other thing. They're going to test all these. If you have to test those 2, you got to test everybody.
Not necessarily. These 2 were banned
necessarily.
from competition in the World
Okay, you're-
Championships.
you're right.
Can I
That's
tell
enough
you how
to
it
test
works? Because
them.
we interviewed a fighter, D-Style and I. Her name was Suzy Q Ramadan, and she ended up fighting a guy in the
Yeah.
pro ranks.
Yeah, I remember.
That's
that.
crazy.
And she
Yeah,
was
that's
she was
crazy.
suspicious. She was suspicious, but the person identified as a female, right? She was suspicious, and she said something to the commission. So this is how this works. If nobody ever says anything, the reason why these five women were not just picked out of a hat. First of
No, I
all,
get that.
first of all, the IBA has had different leadership over the years, and this guy's only
But
been.
she's a female. That's my point. That's my point in all of this.
You don't know.
Not
not
necessarily, Eric.
Female.
You don't know
She's
that
not a biological
because
female.
no one's proven that.
But no one's proven the other way either.
They have.
And
They
that's the
have.
thing.
They have
not. Nobody has proven anything.
They have an XY chromosome test.
They claim they do.
They claim
But
they
again,
do.
But the IOC
Again,
doesn't
they haven't
even
proven
claim that they
anything.
why
have
would
an
they just
XX
pick
test.
five? Why would they just pick 5 random women
Why
and
would
say and just lie on these people?
Right.
Why would the
One's
Russians?
from
Why would the
Algeria,
Russian
one's from
Federation
Taiwan.
help all their
It doesn't make
athletes?
sense that they would just lie about these 5 women have XY chromosomes. Why would they just do that? For what reason? There's no motive to do that. It makes 0 sense. Zero.
They're both corrupt organizations, both the IOC
But,
and
what
the
is that?
IBA.
How does that benefit them by doing that? It gives them no benefit.
And they also
First
do
of
that
all,
in the
Looking
medal
at, and I will
round.
say this. Now, I will say this. Going into the World Championships, and Mike, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go out of here because I know it's time. But at the World Championships, when I looked at the thing, I said, okay, who is she fighting next? Where she got disqualified or whatever, but it wouldn't have helped the Russians at all. It wouldn't have helped anybody in there because the Russian Federation, I guess the guy who runs the IBA now is in charge of the Russian boxing, I guess the amateur boxing and everything like that.
But the vice president that actually did the interview is Hungarian. The guy who did the interview, and he said
he backed up those
he
claims.
backed up. He was Hungarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I repeat, nobody from
She
the
has a baby.
IOC
She
has
has a baby.
refuted those claims.
She has a uterus.
I just don't think
It doesn't matter, Eric. I could have a third arm.
She doesn't have a uterus. We don't even know she has a uterus.
You don't
We
know.
don't know, but we-
The IOC said she does.
but we
The
don't know
IOC
the
said she
other
doesn't have a uterus. The IOC said
That's
she
the thing.
doesn't have
Guys,
a
IOC
we
did
don't
not
know
say
either
she didn't
way.
have a uterus.
Before
They
I
said
go,
she's not DSD. She said it's not. They said it's not a DSD case and it's not a transgender case.
But if it's not a DSD case, she can have a uterus.
No. A DSD
Right,
would mean she does have a uterus.
you haven't seen her naked, so you don't know.
Well,
We don't know.
let me
right?
tell you this.
Okay, so it's up to the people. Look again. I don't think people should be attacking the athletes
No,
right now.
It's nothing personal against her.
Exactly. Go
I have a
after.
problem with the IOC. I think the IOC is
Absolutely.
the IOC is doing this to her. It's their fault.
It's perfectly
It's all
stated.
of their fault.
Yeah.
This is the
All we have to
IOC's
do-
fault.
I would go along with that.
And all the flack that Khalif is getting is 100% on the IOC here. Okay, they could have ended this by making a simple statement: we did testing. This person has XX chromosomes. They haven't done it. Why? Probably because they have a Y chromosome.
So the answer
We don't
to
know.
why don't
We don't
the answer-
know.
We don't know.
They haven't tested.
But
Yeah, that's
dude,
the other
if you
thing
were
is
in
they
their
haven't tested.
shoes,
why are we
Why
assuming
wouldn't you release
why are we
that
assuming that the
information?
IBA is lying about the
I don't
about the
know.
tests?
I don't
Why-
know.
and the
otherwise,
WBO,
like,
and
why
the
are we just
WBO, they're
assuming
both lying.
The IBA
Can I
has
add one
been
more
around.
element to this, and then
Yeah,
I
the
have to
IBA
go?
But the IBA has been around for 73 years. The Olympics had no problem with them running their boxing
Until
was-
this ruling.
for
the guy was in a
70
heroin
And
ring.
if you look at
No,
the
he
opening
wasn't.
ceremony
That
of the
guy-
first
yes, he
game,
was.
That guy has
Yes,
been
he
let
was.
go.
Go ahead, Mike, go ahead
That guy
quickly.
has been let go.
There's
The
one
new
more-
guy is not involved in
He's
heroin.
still on heroin.
No,
A lot of
he's
people
not.
are overlooking.
The new guy is not on heroin.
there's a
The
political
IOC
element.
took
to
bribes
this.
from China because the
okay.
whole Chinese swim team got was tested positive. You don't listen. You don't want to. Boxing is fucked. Sports is fucked. We don't want to play this morality game because we'll destroy the whole
Right.
fucking
The
industry.
IOC is simply
We'll
not a
destroy
moral
the whole
authority
industry.
here,
If
right?
we go down the morality.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike. You have to go.
Yeah, sorry guys, I got to put these girls to bed. There's a political element to this that is at play that no one's really
Yeah,
discussing. Okay,
absolutely.
the IOC is anti-Russian, pro-Ukraine, as I said, and there's a war going on, and it's also an election year. If you look at the opening ceremonies of the Paris Games, there was a certain theme to that. Okay, so there's definitely, you could say, an agenda here. And again, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, whatever, but it's present, it's there, and there's politics at play here. My position is this: if you're the IOC and you could exonerate these athletes and get everybody off their back because they're facing global scrutiny, you can also be the heroes here and prove that, you know, that these competitions were up on the up and up. And also, you could stick it to the Russians. You could stick it to Putin. Why wouldn't you do that?
Because they can't
The fact that they haven't
They can't
pretty
do it.
much
Interesting.
says it all.
They can't
It's
do it.
Okay. And if this
They have-
person has a Y chromosome, I don't give a damn if they have a uterus or fallopian tubes or whatever the hell they have. If they have a Y chromosome, it is unethical and unsafe for them to fight XX athletes. Yeah. Make a separate category for them. Let them fight each other. And that's the end of it. All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. Thanks for coming
in,
man. Go ahead.
I'm not saying they have a uterus,
thanks,
or not,
guys.
but
Peace.
as long as they have that
All
Y
right.
chromosome, that's giving them an unfair advantage over XX. It's that simple.
I don't know.
I do know. It's scientific.
You don't know.
You do know. It's called science.
Science? Who believes in science?
It's called
I mean,
science.
you're a Trump guy. You don't believe in science. What's the matter with you?
I don't even want to go there. I mean, that's. I mean, we were. I didn't want to go there. We were told so many things during COVID. And,
oh, right. Yeah, I get it.
So
But it's evolving. I get it.
I don't. Well, it's evolving. Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you though. I will tell you this though. It's a tough situation, and I know where you guys are going, but I also feel for the girl in this instance. I also feel for the two girls in this instance.
And with all due respect, I think I just think you're personalizing this a little bit because of what this girl's going through.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And I understand that. And I don't want to discount that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary that this girl's being treated this way. I think
put
it's
the system on, not her. You know, if there's a problem with the system,
if you're told that it's okay to do something and you're allowed to do it and no one says anything, it's not your fault. But the thing is, to answer your question, why was she allowed to fight? If other females don't say anything, then nothing's going to get done. The only way someone—
That's a great point too. That's a really good point.
The only way this gets taken care— like, I'm going to bring it up, Eric. When I was a kid and you played Little League, there'd always be that one or two kids that look abnormally bigger than everybody else.
Like dudes, yeah. Like
and what does a parent do, Eric? Well, that kid has a mustache and he's playing Little League with 11-year-olds.
Right.
I want to see a birth certificate. Now, is that uncomfortable?
Yeah.
I'll deal with the uncomfortability to protect my sister, my cousin, my daughter. So that's the way I look at it. Now, does she have a uterus? I don't know. But the problem is they're saying it's not a DSD case, which means, you know, different developmental sexual development. It's called different sexual development. Development. That's what it's called. That would fall into that what you were saying, this Swire syndrome. The IOC is saying that it's not that. They're just saying she's a straight woman because that's it. So they're not. You could even be. I want to give your argument the benefit of the doubt. They're not giving your argument the benefit of the doubt. They're not saying this is a different sexual development case. They said that. They just said she's a straight woman.
Yeah.
So that's just the way I feel. I'm not.
Well, and
listen,
again, like, who knows? And that's the other thing. Like, we don't know.
If you want to believe there's 20 genders, that's fine. I have no problem with that. If someone wants me to call them a woman, I have no problem with that.
It's not even that. My thing is, if you can have a baby, I think you should be classified as a woman. That's me. Maybe I'm old fashioned. I don't know.
But again, you still have the Y chromosome and you have to be artificially inseminated because you don't produce eggs.
Right. But so what? Some guys don't produce sperm. Does that mean they're women? No.
No, it doesn't. But again, you can never take— you have to understand this. You can never take away the biological advantages of the Y chromosome. Once you can't do it. You're going to have that advantage.
Romanian Mike says, why can't they have their own league instead of ruining women's sports, men versus women, women versus women, trans versus trans? Again, not a trans issue. It's not a trans issue. Not a trans issue. It's not cut and dry. Because like I said, I mean, I believe if you can have a baby, you're a woman. Beeb cannot have a baby. I cannot have a baby because I don't have a uterus. Neither one of us can have a baby because we don't have a uterus.
But you're not having a baby. You're not having a baby natural. Yeah, you're being artificially inseminated. So again,
well, I mean, we can play that game too. There's a lot of people that don't have them naturally either.
But even that, again, the chances of them having— I've spoken to doctors about this. Let's call up my sister, who's a nurse practitioner. She said the chances, no, realistically speaking, I'm not lying.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get you.
The chances of them even having a baby, even being through artificial insemination, that's still very rare. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have outliers in anything. Yeah. But the thing is
But the fact is she can deliver one because she has a uterus. That's my point.
It's not impossible. But I don't know if she has a uterus.
But if that's the case, but if she's XY and a female, that's possible.
But she will have.
So an XY chromosome doesn't necessarily make her a guy.
She will still have those. No, I mean, if you're intersex, you can identify however you want. But again, the Y chromosome will give you masculine traits that the XX will not have.
Sure.
We have to agree on that.
Oh, absolutely. And, we've seen, like I said, I mentioned the wrestler, that China, that girl China.
And she had to fight Chris Jericho. She didn't fight a girl. She beat Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental title.
Right. And that
she didn't fight another woman.
So, she's got an XY. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Nicole
Again,
Bass,
that's defamation.
Nicole Bass, same way.
That's defamation. You can't just say that someone has an XY if you don't know.
That's what I said. I didn't know.
No, it's a touchy subject.
But it's a tough subject too. Because again,
can I say something else?
Yes.
She'll probably never fight again, because here's the thing. She's reading
28.
No, but listen to this.
Yeah.
I was reading a statement from the IOC, and they even said they're not even sure if they're going to bring boxing back in 2028. So the IBA,
which is unbelievable,
the IBA does multiple boxing events a year. They still do their championships every 2 years. They are way more involved in boxing than the IOC is. And they've been running the IOC's program for over 70 years.
And what the fallout is over the Russians, I guess. The Russian-Ukrainian thing.
You were right. You were partially right what you said. They were suspended because of that other guy that's no longer there.
Right.
But in 2023, because of the Ukraine war, that's how they were banned. But they're also part of this company called Gazprom, which is a Russian company, which funds them. And the IOC doesn't like that. And then the IOC is complaining about the way they choose their referees and their judges. They question their judges. Again, a lot of this shit is projection. But
a lot of the stuff we've had in the Olympics too. Anybody remember Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather? Exactly. I'm just saying. IBA, speaking of the IBA, they're set to award that girl, Angela Carini, $50,000 over that loss. So there you go. So it's not all bad.
This is a very touchy subject, isn't it?
It really is. Like I thought before I started,
you and I weren't such good friends. See how we can argue like this, and I even when I see it getting heated, I pull it back a little bit. So that's Eric. I can't. I pull it back a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that.
I pull it back a little bit, because if I empty out the clip, I don't know if we're gonna have a show anymore. But that's the thing. I have to pull it back a little bit. When I talk to other people, they're usually on the floor at this point.
If it was Robbie, he'd be gone by now. I mean, that's how you roll. I mean, it just is.
No, I'll be
it's
honest.
A crazy subject. I thought, like, I'm like everybody else. I thought, XX and XY, and that's it. That's done deal. It's not really. And until I was talking to my wife, she was like, "No, it's not really that cut and dry."
You can have intersex. But again, that's like less than 1%.
Yeah.
But my only concern is it's like a person who
I read that too, Jesse. Carini actually apologized.
Let's just use this example. I have lower testosterone than you, by hereditarily, right? And I'm like 200, right? You're at 700. I want to compete against you, right? So I get TRT just so I can get up to you, right? Now I get up to your level, right? And it's technically, you would argue it's a fair fight, but because my testosterone is exogenous and yours is natural, I would get suspended and
sure,
probably banned, because I'm taking something to bring me up to your level. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the thing is, an XY, generally, there are going to be rare cases, because this woman has lost before, right? But if
she's not even, I mean, she's good. Obviously, she's good enough to be there.
You could argue she's slightly better than average. So if she's fighting, sure, if she's fighting an XX that is exceptional, right? There'll be instances where that XX can beat that mediocre or less than stellar XY. Sure. But if you take an XY who's average and an XX who's average, chances are the XY is going to have a physical advantage over that XX, and that's where it comes. Just like Amir Khan, he took Osterine, but he still lost the fight. He still lost the fight, but he gets bent. He gets bent.
Again, I go back to my Joe Joyce thing with the thick cranium or whatever, and even Julio Cesar Chavez. I think I heard an interview saying that the doctor told him he wasn't born with a thicker skull, you know, or whatever the case may be. That gives them unfair advantages. But he's a man. We don't have to have different, different levels for that.
But that XX person could never ever do anything to give herself a Y chromosome. There's nothing that she could do to make herself get a Y chromosome.
Right.
Whereas the other person has the Y chromosome. Now, again, you can argue XY people could still lose to XX people. But if you take the average XX versus the average XY, the average XY is more than likely going to have that physical advantage.
Yeah.
That's my argument.
It's interesting, man. I tell you. And like, that's your argument. And my argument is if she can have a baby, she can fight in the women's division. It's tough. It's a tough, and like I said, I see both sides of it. I know you see both sides of it. And it's like, it's not that cut and dry though, man. It's not. Omari Jones of the United States has made it to the medal round. We will have a medalist in boxing, only one because Harvey lost. I don't know.
And that was
a good fight, but
was that bad scoring too?
No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Yeah, I don't hate it.
Because when you originally text me, you were like, "This is a robbery," but then that was probably an emotional response.
Absolutely emotional. Oh, absolutely.
All right.
I went back and watched it and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know. It was close.
Close, right?
I still think Harvey won it, but it was close, and you can't cry about it.
You gave me stick once because when you always ask me about the Olympics, Yeah. I'm going to explain to you why I lost interest in the Olympics.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with politics or a little bit to do with politics because when they started banning countries for stupid because of wars, I didn't like that. But
it's been like that forever.
What happened in '84? What happened in '84 where the Americans couldn't they wouldn't let the Cubans be there? I didn't like whatever. Yeah. But I'm going to give you a short story because I know time. Time's running late. I remember in 1980, I was 11 years old, sitting on the hardwood floor, watching the Olympic hockey team with Beeb Sr. playing the Russians, right? These were young guys from all over the country. Some of them were in junior colleges. Some of them were working at factories, right? And they took this team and they played the Russians, the storied Russian hockey team, right?
Beat the All-Stars, beat the NHL All-Stars.
These guys beat the NHL All-Stars, right? And then you took these young kids from small towns, right? Jim Craig was from Massachusetts, the goalie. He never even made it to the NHL, right? He played like one game or so, and they got rid of him, right? But these young kids beat that Russian team, right? That was historic, probably one of the most iconic moments in sport. Now, you start bringing pros in. You start changing rules. You start eliminating countries. And this is not what the Olympics, in my opinion, is supposed to be. It was never supposed to be. Sport was never supposed to be political, even though it can be. It's not supposed to be. If I want to watch NBA players playing, I'll watch the NBA. So, when I saw Sugar Ray Leonard I didn't see this, but I was young enough and I remember it. When he beat the Cuban in the finals in the Olympics, that meant something, right?
Sugar Ray,
So if Anthony Joshua decides I'm going to be in the Olympics and he knocks out some amateur boxer from what does that do for me? So
Jalalov is back in the Olympics.
Yeah, so I just lost interest in the Olympics because of how they've done things.
Oh, you and I were talking about the basketball game the other day. The U.S. and Puerto Rico, and the U.S. is so deep that Puerto Rico's going to hang with them for a little bit. But
you were right, they blew them out,
ended up blowing them out, man. But when they did the Dream Team, that ruined the Olympics. It really did in a lot of ways.
They allowed NHL players to play in the Olympics. That's so. So when you ask me.
But the argument for it, that Russian team that played our guys in 1980, that was a professional team.
Technically, they weren't a professional team, but
right? Technically,
they've been together so long that
That
they
is
had
all they do year round is play hockey.
They get paid. They get paid to play amateur sports in other countries.
Felix Savone,
Yes,
retired amateur status.
And
they were talking about him fighting like Holyfield with headgear or something like that back in the time because he was so dominant.
And these guys are wealthy because they get paid.
Yes.
To stay,
And
they
that's
literally
why
get
they
paid
do.
to stay amateur.
And that's why they brought in the pros to begin with.
So
but I get it.
so when you
I
ask
totally
me, hey, you
get it.
watch the Olympics, you went to the Olympics. I haven't been to the. I watch the Olympics only when you mention something that may be interesting.
Yeah.
If you're not telling me something that like that Omari Jones guy, I'll probably watch him now because you recommended it to me. If you didn't recommend that to me, I probably wouldn't have any interest in it. And this whole thing, this whole controversy with Khalif, I didn't even get involved in this until people were messaging me, asking me questions about it. I think you were asking me questions about it. What do you think about this? I didn't even care because I haven't really followed it.
Because you're not following, right?
I'm not following it.
But this is a big thing, right?
It is a big thing.
Big story, you know.
If this is on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News,
yeah.
And if CNN is questioning it themselves, which is very rare because they usually don't question stuff like this. They're usually more on your line, your line of thinking. Even CNN is taking the Fox position on this. So
well, and I mean, you know, like I said, it's an interesting topic. This is an interesting. This isn't like the guy in college who was a transgender. He was a woman and he transgendered into a man. He lives his life as a man. Didn't have any reassignment surgery or anything like that. And he goes and competes in women's sports, the diving or the racing or whatever. And this isn't that. That's wrong.
I think your stance is this, because if someone's intersex and they may have gonads and they may have a uterus, they have to make a decision, right? And I could see why more often than not that the individual will choose to be a female, right? Because again, the anatomy would probably fall more in line with that, and I understand about that, right? But you know, in that case, it's tough. It's tough.
It is.
It's tough. It's tough
because you know, what if you fell in love? Let me ask you a question. This is completely, if hypothetical, if you were to fall in love with a girl and you found out she had an XY chromosome, does that make you gay? She has a uterus, she has a vagina, she has all the lady parts.
If I took her pants down and
you see what you should be seeing,
and I don't see like a normal vagina. With all the respect, and this is no knock on you intersex ladies out there.
No, it looks fine. Fine. It looks fine.
Can I be honest?
She has an XY chromosome.
Can I be honest?
You wouldn't even. That's something you wouldn't even know unless she told you.
I don't even know. Yes. I don't even know if that's ever been the case, because usually if you do have a Y chromosome, I guess your argument could be if your argument could be if it resembled more so a vagina than it did like that.
She doesn't have a penis. She looks normal. Let's just say she looks normal.
I'm not sure if an intersex person would.
What are you going to inspect it? Like, what are you? I mean,
I'm going to Google.
Iceman says you're gay. Iceman says you're gay.
I'm going to Google intersex gender. You know what I'm going to do for you tonight? This is my homework. I'm going to Google intersex genitalia, and I'm going to put the images, because if someone has a uterus and gonads, that's not going to look like a regular. That's not looking like a regular standard vagina. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So Morano says, "Be careful how you answer this one, Beebs."
So if someone has gonads, if someone has a Y chromosome, someone has a uterus and gonads, that is not going to be your regular cafeteria version of a vagina.
It's not going to be your garden variety version of a vagina.
It's not going to be a garden variety vagina. You are really jumping through hoops to try to make a point here, man. I'm just saying.
I'm asking questions.
When you have to go through all these mental gymnastics to try to make a point,
of course, right? I'm just asking questions.
When you have to go through all these mental gymnastics to try to make a point, you have to ask yourself, how strong is my point? How strong is my point?
I'm just asking a question. And it's completely not related to this. I'm just saying, what if?
I mean, if I had a unicorn with wings, would I get rid of my car? Maybe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Totally get rid of the car. If you had a unicorn, are you kidding me?
You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you do? Like, What do you do to that poor woman? You just grab her and make her pull her, like, what do you do?
Don't let her get rope you into some Diddy
Eric,
activities.
Eric is asking me like these loaded questions here, man.
I'm asking a question.
Hey, is Robbie on the line?
Yeah, in fact, let's bring him out. But let's go back to boxing real quick.
All right, good.
We're gonna bring Robert on here. But Amari Jones will be fighting in the medal round. He wins. He's guaranteed at least a bronze medal if he wins. Guaranteed a silver or a gold. I'm pulling for you, man. And he looks good. He looks good.
Is that going to be on Peacock too?
Yeah.
Why don't they put?
You know what? I might do a stream of it. It depends on when it is and all that other good stuff. But we got to figure it out. But I may do a stream on it or whatever. But Amari Jones is very athletic, and I think that he uses his athleticism a little bit too much instead of the fundamentals. That might give him problems as he progresses. But he looks good. He's super fast. He's strong. And I'll tell you what, he knocked that guy down in that first round. They didn't call it. And I thought that was nonsense. That happened in he knocked him down, but in the Harvey fight, he knocked that dude down in the first round. Clear knockdown. Referee called it a slip. So
now when you get a knockdown in the Olympics, they don't give you 2-point rounds, right? They don't. The knockdowns count, or did they change that?
I got to be honest. I don't know, because it looked like the 10-point must system.
Okay. Yeah.
But and they didn't. Somebody got a 10-8 round, but there was no knockdown. So
so maybe they do count knockdowns, because there was a time when they didn't. You remember there was a time.
I remember knockdowns counted as much as a punch.
Yeah, that goes.
I tell everybody it's different sports.
And that goes back to why I lost interest in the Olympics, because of the constant rule changes that were ridiculous.
Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda are up next. There's no Tank. They said that Tank would not get back with him.
Is that fight really going to happen? No, is Zepeda going to
be up next?
Is he really going to fight him? Is it signed or
well, it's from what I understand, it's real close.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
And I guess Tank didn't want to fight. I don't know that they were waiting on something back from Tank, and Tank never got back to him, or his people never got back to him. They didn't sound interested, so he took William Zepeda. That's a good fight. I think Stevenson walks him, but I think it's a good fight. Jack Catterall, Regis Prograis postponed due to injury. They will fight. And then Jaime Munguia versus Eric Bazinian, set for September 20th. I don't like that fight at all for Munguia. I think you're taking way too much of a backward step right there. Robert, have you been listening?
Robbie, do you have an XY chromosome?
Hello, guys.
Do you have an XY chromosome, Robert?
Do you have an XY chromosome, Robbie?
Of course I do, but I don't want to get involved in this argument.
What did Mrs. Herrick think about all this?
I don't. She's smart. She's sleeping. She's not even listening to any of this. Let me talk about Munguia for a second before I get to last night's card. Eric, the reason why he signed that fight is now he's with Top Rank. He signed with Top Rank. He left Golden Boy. And
Shocking.
So that's who Top Rank is giving him.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
But as far as last night's card is concerned, good card. Very good card. I just don't like how long it lasted, because we had no idea that Eminem was going to be in the middle of all this, and that's why the main event was so damn late. I mean, they need to be more respectful of people's time, especially people on the East Coast.
Oh,
I mean, that card.
Talking about the excellency here. You better watch it.
The pay-per-view started at 6, and the whole thing didn't get over till almost 2.
Yep.
I mean, they need to figure
You're on
out
the West Coast. Why are you crying?
Why
are you crying? You're on the West Coast, and you're gonna bitch. What about me? I felt like I
2
got
in the
injected.
morning.
I feel like I got injected with anesthesia last night. I'm fucking with toothpicks in my eyes.
Jet lag today.
I wake up like someone hit me with a freaking bat, and I was knocked out at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Look, I'm trying to defend you guys. Okay, I mean, because I used to live on the East Coast. I know what that's like.
East Coast player. How are you doing with the wildfires, man? How's everything going over there? You guys good?
Well, it's only 30% contained, and it's over 400,000 acres. We are not in the evacuation zone as of yet, but we have to be on the watch.
Wow, still
that's why
okay.
I had to wait until yesterday to That's why I had to wait till yesterday to finally know that I was going to be able to be home to order the fight.
Well, that's going to, at least that's good though, that you're, I mean,
And
you haven't evacuated yet. So it must be, contained somewhat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's 30% contained, but it's so large. They've got almost 10,000 people fighting the fire now. And then the number keeps going up because that's how big it is.
So you had Madrimov winning the fight?
Yeah, I did. I'm 7-5.
7-5. Wow.
115, 113.
Wow. Yeah,
I thought this was the most trouble that Terrence Crawford ever had with an opponent. Now, I'm not going to argue with anybody that said Terrence Crawford won the fight 7-5 the other way. But this is the most difficulty that Terrence had trying to figure somebody out. That's just the way it looked to me. And I was very impressed with Madrimov, and I hope he gets bigger fights.
Yeah, I hope so too. I do. I hope so as well. Let's see
and
here.
I'm gonna be in the opposite corner here, guys. I don't think that Canelo fight comes off. No. I don't think that weight jump would be a good idea for Crawford. I really don't.
Look at another 14 pounds there. It's a big difference. 2 weight classes.
No, I don't think that would be a good idea for him. I'd like to see him stay at 154 and fight people like Sebastian Pandora, Tim Zhu, and people of that ilk. I think the 14-pound jump would be a bridge too far.
Virgil Ortiz is going to be next for him. Watch. Yeah.
Oh, well, Turkey already said if we can't get Canelo, we're going to have Virgil Ortiz.
Yeah.
That would be a good fight. But I also agree with Mike. Virgil Ortiz is not going to have an easy fight this Saturday. So,
Does he win?
I agree with Mike on that also. He wins, but he's going to have to earn it. He's not going to be able to knock this guy out. I'll be very impressed if he goes 22 for 22. Because remember, he's never went the distance. He's always knocked everybody out. So I want to see what happens to him if he actually has to go the full distance.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. All right, Robert. Well, stay safe, my friend. All right.
I will.
All right, man. We'll talk to you. All right. Quickly, last caller, 917. You're live.
Hey, guys. You kind of touched on anything that anyone could want to speak about. You went off on a couple tangents, especially about the, what defines a female in sport, which is actually, I think a lot of people were talking about that from the Olympics. So you're not alone. It's actually important for them to solve that so people don't get hurt, in my opinion. Robbie kind of nailed it in his last call. It's funny. I was on board for the full range of fights, and it was actually a very good compilation of just everything. Good fight card, good heavyweight action, good main event card. It could have been a little more exciting at the Crawford, for the Crawford fight, but it's understandable given the caliber and level of the fighters and the moving up in weight and everything. I actually tuned in with the intention of buying the fight because, you want to support the sport that you love or engage in all the time.
For sure.
And this goes back to the conversation you guys have been having almost every week for the past year, where they just price this thing where it's almost unconscionable to buy it, even for a card like this, which actually gave more content than is typical of the fight card. It was like, was it $79? So $80 it'd be like almost $100.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like $80. And I actually went in there, saw it was available even on Prime. You could get the fight, so it's even good to see it's available on these other platforms. And then I said, "There's no way I'm sitting here by myself. It's not like I'm having a pizza party with all my boys and can ask them all to pony up a few bucks." And so I just went right to MethStream and just streamed the thing, and basically watched how many hours of boxing was that? 7 hours of boxing and an Eminem concert for free. Now, if they actually priced the thing reasonably, I probably would have just bought it. So it's borderline retarded on these guys' part, the way they do this. especially when I think you guys talked about how the same card is priced so differently internationally.
Yeah.
Like, why are they trying to rake us for so much money here? Why
20
not just
bucks.
charge the, whatever, $40 that is, or whatever the equivalent is to pounds in euros is, and actually make more money from people who actually can afford it and or have a price point that they feel is addressable. I can't fathom it.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. They're driving all their customers away. Like, why would you drive your own customer to stream your content? The willing, paying customer. It's fucking stupid. So I'll stop there. By the way, my last note, because I thought all the fights were exciting, but that heavyweight fight, the early card one with the guy from Congo, wow, man, the guy was like Clubber Lang. It's funny that no one mentioned that. He was heavy-handed, man. When Jared Anderson got hit, like you said early in the coverage, you knew. You were like, man, he got up. I was like, wow, he got up. That guy has heart. But I was like, there's no way he's going to take a whole lot more of that. And I was like, there's no way. I would have ran out of the ring right then and there, man. It was crazy. And it's sad, Ruiz, the heavyweight Ruiz. For a chubby dude, the guy actually is gifted. He's really gifted. Like, he's got such fast hands, and you can tell that he has decent crack. I think this other guy from Brooklyn, he's always been a bum. If he wasn't 300 pounds, he never even gotten as far as he did, and with his, being able to have a high work rate. But Andy Ruiz is actually a story of a guy who fell short of his potential, kind of hit it, right, when he won against Anthony Joshua, but never stayed where he could have stayed. And it's no surprise he was gassed, 4 or 5 rounds in. And it still was a close fight because the other guy sucked so bad. Let's be honest. And the guy had one broken hand, and he still maybe barely, won. I was happy with the draw, if you want the truth, because neither guy deserved to win. But Andy Ruiz makes me feel a little bit different because I look at him, I'm like, wow, the guy's hands are fast, and he's tough, and he can take a decent shot. And you kind of do this what if in your mind with him. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I have a soft spot for the chubby dude. Anyway, I'll leave my call off there. But thank you for the great, content today. You guys nailed just about everything a person could ask for from the coverage. So thanks.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. We always love those to hear that. And that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, we can catch Joe Habib on X at JHabib1. Find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. Don't forget Mike Montero on YouTube at Montero Unboxing. You can catch his show on there. It's a great show if you guys haven't seen it. You can also catch him on the Roundtable at times. Beeb, what about the Roundtable this week?
We'll be Roundtable. I think we'll be on D-Styles channel this week, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you check it out. We'll have a variety of guests. I'm not sure who we'll have this week, but we'll know pretty soon. They'll let us know.
There you go. And also you can find me on X at Ringside73. And guys, we will see you next week.